All right, moving on now. There is a growing concern over the disparity between huge government earnings and growing poverty in Nigeria.
All right, this is coming off the back of a report by NAET showing that between 2012 and 2016, 28.58 trillion naira was remitted into the Federation account. Now, still, Nigeria remains the poverty capital of the world.
In June 2018, a report by Brookings Institute revealed that Nigeria had overtaken India as the nation with the highest number of poor people, with an estimated 86.9 million Nigerians living on less than $1.90 a day. That figure has now increased to 93.7 million, according to a report by the World Poverty Clock.
Now, it is projected that by 2030, 120 million Nigerians will be living in extreme poverty. All right, that's scary, I must say. Joining me now is the public affairs analyst, Adeni Ojikutu. It's nice to have you join me right now.
Thank you very much.
All right, the World Poverty Clock is saying that by 2030, that poverty rate could increase even further from where we are right now, being the capital of the world. Over 100 million people will now live under the poverty line. How scary are these figures?
We should be very scared about these statistics. And what we should do is that anybody can project anything, be it World Bank, be it any international organization, even local, research can tell us that there is possibility that the poverty increases. But as government, as people, what do we need to do to make sure that we do not go towards that direction? And that is why we need to say some of these things. Number one, we need to understand that India, which are about far above us, 91 million poor people, has reduced to about 71.5 as of July 2018. Now, if India is reduced, they are reducing their poverty rates and the number of people with poverty, China has actually gone far below. Now, they have moved from underdevelopment to developing, from developing to developed nations. Now, Nigeria, what do we need to do? Number one, the template at which they used was to develop small businesses and make sure that people, we cannot, the era of saying we want to get people into blue chip employment. What do I mean? The large corporations, the large businesses, and people who finish university, or people that want menial jobs who get jobs in large enterprise, has gone. The template now is what China used, what India is using, is to come up with small businesses and make sure that you grow small businesses or micro businesses to small businesses. From small businesses, they grow to large businesses. So what are the things we need to do? Number one, we understand that entrepreneurship, apprenticeship training, craftsmanship are the style that we have. Okay,
but we've always had this entrepreneurship and vocational skills
because we have an issue in the Northeast. It has actually increased the number of people without employment. Even people that are coming out from the universities are not getting jobs.
All right. And now talking about strategy, let me interrupt you a little bit. Talking about strategy, we had the MDGs, which the United Nations put as if all countries follow one way or the other, it will reduce the impact of poverty across all lines. We couldn't meet the MDGs by 2015. Now we jumped into the SDG, which was the modification of that.
The Sustainable Development goals going forward in 2030 into 2030. What are the things any nation that wants to move out of poverty, that wants to be in the league of progressing nations, what are the things they need to do?
Rwanda is following, Ethiopia is following, Tanzania is following.
What are we doing? Number one, education, inequality should be, we should have strong institutions, we should have good with zero to hunger, and that is about food production. So these things are some of those things we should make sure that we put interest in innovation. And the solution really is developing small businesses. If you cannot develop small businesses, already there are a lot of hubs in Nigeria. We should make sure that we create better avenue for them to grow. And if they grow, Nigeria will grow at long run.
Bam, that's it. Adeni Ojikutu, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Much. Thank you very much.
Right.
Now, moving ahead now, there is a growing concern over the disparity between huge government earnings and growing poverty in Nigeria.
Now, this is coming off the back of a report by NATI showing that between 2012 and 2016, 28.58 trillion naira was remitted into the Federation account. Still, Nigeria remains the poverty capital of the world.
In June 2018, a report by a Brookings Institute revealed that Nigeria had overtaken India as the nation with the highest number of poor people, with an estimated 86.9 million Nigerians living on less than $1.90 a day. And that figure has now increased to 93.7 million, according to a report by the World Poverty Clock.
It is projected that by 2030, 120 million Nigerians will be living in extreme poverty. Joining me now is a public affairs analyst, Adeniji Ojikutu. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast. Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, when you look at the figures, 28.58 trillion naira revenue and the level of poverty, how worrisome is this for you?
The truth is, poverty has been defined by United Nations is characterized by a severe state of lack of food, drinkable and potable water, health, lack of education, lack of communication, lack of shelter. So we should understand in the real context what poverty is. So by the time we'll understand that, okay, if all these things are not in place, that means that person is poor.
From your evaluation, are these things in place?
They are not. Okay, that is why the world, clock index for poverty has actually increased, in the last clock, has increased the number of poor people in Nigeria, close to 100 million. That's about 50% of the population. Now, as it is, why is it like that? We are not supposed to be there.
Despite these earnings?
Despite the fact that we have earned so much. Now, what do we do? For the fact that we've failed to develop these things that we've aforementioned, education, health, there is, lack of food. People are actually living below $1.9. Now, this is about less than 700 naira, less than 600 naira. So what you now ask is that, can 600 naira or 700 naira be enough to feed somebody? So the number of people really that lives below 700 naira in a day in Nigeria is about 100 million people. So as it is, what do we do?
But the government has come up with a social intervention program.
Social intervention program, what is the thing that India did? India was the largest. India is about 71 million, poor people or thereabout, right now. They have left us. So Nigeria has the largest number of people that are actually living below 600 naira, to put it at the local balance. Okay, what do the government needs to do, despite the earnings? What the government needs to do is, number one, food production should increase. Two, is we should go further in making sure that corruption, in terms of what the government spends, goes directly into those things that they are meant for, projects and the policy somersault. We discover that if the government is going towards a direction, you discover that sometimes they'll turn back. So at the end of the day, this snowballing somersault of policies, lack of direction of policies, would not make them, achieve the solutions. What we can do further is to make sure that we increase the number of educated persons. Education, minimum, secondary education. You see that a lot of people keep begging all around the street.
But do we have the structures in place to achieve all of this that you have said from your evaluation right now?
It is a serious problem going forward because our population is increasing, and if we are not careful, the number of poor people will keep increasing, and it is a direct connection with insecurity. Poverty and insecurity go alongside.
All right, Adeniji Ojikutu, of course, definitely, we should be careful, like you were trying to say, but then thank you for your contribution on TVC Breakfast this morning.